You open Zillow on a Tuesday night, you see the estimate has gone up another $50,000 since last year. You lean back, satisfied. You feel rich. You tell your friends, my house is the best investment I ever made. But here is the brutal truth that hurts to hear. You can't eat your drywall. You can't pay for a medical emergency with a backsplash. And unless you plan on selling that house and moving into a tent, that wealth is effectively fake. We have been brainwashed to believe the American dream is a 30-year mortgage. But for most of you, your primary residence isn't an asset. It is a liability that sleeps in your bed and eats your paycheck. It is a consumption expense masquerading as a retirement plan. Here is the math nobody runs, and it's why so many people end up house rich and cash poor at 65. The return on equity for your home is often zero, or worse, negative, once you factor in the phantom costs. Before you get angry, let me give you the rule that clears the fog immediately. It's called the true cost rule. A house doesn't just cost the sticker price. To break even, just to break even, your home's value needs to rise by roughly 4 to 5% every single year just to cover the cash you are bleeding on interest, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. If your house appreciates 3% a year, you are technically losing money. If you want simple money math that turns panic into a plan, subscribe. I'm Mint. Now, we need to define two types of money because mixing them up is what keeps people working until they're 70. There is dead equity and live equity. Dead equity is money trapped in physical objects. It does not produce cash flow. It does not compound. It requires you to feed it more money just to keep it from rotting. That is your house. Live equity is money that works. It's stocks, bonds, or real estate you actually rent out. It compounds, it pays dividends, and you can sell a sliver of it on a Tuesday if you need to buy groceries. The trap is that we spend our prime earning years shoveling live equity into a furnace of dead equity hoping it keeps us warm. Let's run the numbers. Because feelings lie, but calculators don't. Meet Jack. Jack buys a home for $400,000. He puts 20% down, so he takes out a loan for $320,000. He feels smart. 10 years go by. The market is hot. His house is now worth $550,000. Jack is ecstatic. He tells everyone at the barbecue, I made $150,000 on this place. Did he? Let's look at the receipt. Over those 10 years, Jack didn't just pay the principal. At a 6% interest rate, he paid nearly $180,000 in interest to the bank. That money is gone, vaporized. Then, property taxes. At 1.5% annually, that's another $60,000 gone. Insurance? Let's call it $10,000. And maintenance, the silent killer. The roof leak, the new HVAC, the painting. If he spent just 1% of the home's value per year on upkeep, that's another $40,000. So Jack thinks he made $150,000, but his holding costs were nearly $300,000. He didn't make money. He paid a premium for a place to sleep. Now, you have to live somewhere, so it's not a total loss. But calling it an investment is like calling your golden retriever an employee. It's a member of the family, sure, but it's costing you a fortune in kibble. Now, compare that to Jill. Jill had the same $80,000 down payment, but she rented a modest place and put that $80,000 into Live Equity, a boring S&P 500 index fund. She added the difference between Jack's mortgage and her rent into that fund every month. While Jack's money was trapped in timber and concrete, battling rotten taxes, Jill's money was compounding. In 10 years, her $80,000 has doubled, maybe tripled, and it's completely liquid. She can spend it tomorrow. Jack has to sell his house and pay a 6% realtor fee just to touch his money. Here is the part people miss, and it's critical for your freedom number. When you pay off your house, you think you've crossed the finish line. You haven't. You've just stopped the bleeding from the interest. You still have the taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance. Those never end. You never truly own your home. You just rent it from the county government and the insurance company. I know what you're thinking, but Mint, my house forces me to save. If I didn't pay the mortgage, I'd just spend the money on tacos and vacations. That is the common trap. We use a mortgage as a forced savings account because we lack discipline. We are willing to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest payments just to trick ourselves into building net worth. It's an expensive crutch. If you need a bank to threaten foreclosure to get you to save money, you don't have an investment problem, you have a behavior problem. So, what do? Do you sell the house and live in a van? No. But you need to use the 3 levers to stop the bleeding. Lever 1 is the downsize. If your kids are gone and you're sitting in 4 bedrooms, you are heating and cooling empty space. That is dead equity consuming your life energy. Moving to a smaller spot releases that trapped cash, so you can turn it into live equity. Lever 2 is the refinance, but only when rates drop significantly. This isn't about pulling cash out to buy a boat. It's about lowering the rent you pay to the bank. Lever 3 is the most important, the mental shift. Stop viewing your primary home as part of your retirement portfolio. It's not. It's a prepaid expense. When you calculate your freedom number, the amount you need to quit your job, do not include your home equity. You cannot withdraw 4% of your kitchen to buy food. If you have $1 million in net worth, but 900,000 of it is your house, you are not a millionaire. You are a broke person living in a nice house. I want you to try the Mint move this week to get honest with yourself. It's a 3-step reality check. First, go find your total interest paid last year on your mortgage statement. Add your property tax bill and your insurance premium. Second, estimate your maintenance. Be honest. Did you buy a lawnmower? Did you fix a pipe? Add at least 1% of the home's value if you're unsure. Third, add those numbers up and divide by 12. That is your real monthly rent. Even if you own the place, that number is what it costs you to exist there. If that number is higher than renting a similar spot, you aren't investing. You're consuming luxury housing. Owning a home provides stability. It provides memories. It lets you paint the walls purple if you want. Those are valid reasons to buy, but they are emotional reasons, not financial ones. Wealth is built by owning things that pay you, not things you pay for. The sooner you stop treating your shelter like a savings account, the sooner you can start building actual liquidity that buys your time back. Now, once you accept that your house is a liability, you need to know exactly where to put that cash you're saving. You need to understand the difference between cash flow and capital gains. I break that down in the next video on why cash flow is king, so click that and I'll see you there.